Flashback.
The amount of love put into this project is palpable, and I've enjoyed so much of my time that I'm willing to say it's my second favorite beat 'em up. More on that later when my number one re-releases this holiday season.
End of Flashback.
We finally come full circle, boys. We're gonna start things off with a little bit of lore for the uninitiated. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the game was released on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 via their digital storefronts on August 10th, 2010. Now if right now you're thinking, what's an Xbox 360? Aren't we just now getting past the Xbox One? You probably got lost looking for Fortnite videos. Here's one that I made up in the top right corner. You can watch the rest of my videos once you're in high school.
Okay, laters.
4 years later, in December of 2014, it was taken off of both digital storefronts, and since it was only released digitally, if you hadn't already bought the game, it was literally impossible to legally obtain it. As years passed without even a reason given as to why the game had been taken away from us, many fans started to accept that it was just gone forever, only to live on in our cherished memories. And old YouTube videos, I guess, but then it kind of loses dramatic effect. Anyway, on September 10th, 2020, only a few months away from the end of literally the worst year most of us have ever experienced, Big Daddy Ubisoft came in with the biggest fourth quarter clutch in gaming history, revealing a re-release of the Scott Pilgrim game with all DLC included, slated to release during the holiday season. We didn't quite make the 2020 holiday release window, but nevertheless, it's here now, and I can't wait to tell you about one of my favorite games of all time, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the game. If you don't know anything about Scott Pilgrim, you should definitely go watch the movie on Netflix after you finish this video. It's directed by Edgar Wright, so you know the shooting and editing are both fire. Actually, just go do it now and come back when you're done. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. You back? Cool, now tell people down in the comments how good the movie was. Here's a TLDR for those who still haven't watched the movie or read the comics. Scott, who's recently started dating Ramona, has to defeat her 7 evil ex-boyfriends.
Exes.
Right, sorry. In order to continue dating her. The source material is sort of written through the lens of video gaming pop culture, which translates perfectly to the actual game. It's chock full of references to the icons of gaming like Mario, Sonic, Street Fighter, Kirby, Double Dragon, the list goes on. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the game, which I will no longer be referring to by its full name, combines RPG elements with arcade-style beat-em-up gameplay for what was a really unique experience when it released. Most arcade-style beat-em-ups give each character a stock set of moves from the start, and you're stuck with the moveset for the entire game. But Scott Pilgrim implements an XP system with new moves being unlocked as you defeat enemies, gain experience, and level up. Along with the experience, you'll also get money for beating enemies, which you can spend in the various shops around the map for permanent stat upgrades. I really like this take on the beat 'em up genre because it's a pretty simple way to insert some form of progression system, which a lot of them lack. The not so great thing about it is that a lot of the moves that you get from leveling are pretty important for combat, and it kind of feels like you should outright start with them. These guys in the blue jacket will block all forms of incoming damage unless they're holding on to something to throw at you, and there isn't really a reliable way to beat them until you get your grab at level 6. Also, the fact that you unlock all of the same moves at the same levels for every character is a little lame. It's not a big enough deal for me to knock the game down any points, especially since, like I said, you do learn moves that are core for the combat, but I can't help but think about how much better it would have been to give everyone all of the core moves from the start and give them more individualized moves through leveling. Scott could throw garlic bread at enemies for a projectile, Ramona could learn combos with her hammer, and Kim could use those steel lungs to give the party buffs.
Kim!
Luckily, if you don't feel like going through the process of leveling up all of your characters and instead want to play through the game with all of your moves unlocked, it's pretty easy to max out a character on stage 1 through the use of cheat codes. Remember when I said,
this used to be a pretty common option with cheat codes back in the day, but I don't even remember the last time I played a game that has cheat codes.
Well, now I do. Other than farming money, you can use them to do things like turn all of the coins into cute animals and start every level with the power of love. You actually unlock the studio where you can listen to the soundtrack by using a cheat code, so be sure to at least do that one. I'm really happy that they kept these in the re-release. Cheat codes kind of feel like a relic of gaming's past now, so it's nice to see them in action. The actual combat is still as fun and chaotic as it was back in the day, even if it is a little simple. It lacks the finesse of modern day beat 'em ups, but that isn't necessarily to its detriment. You can pretty easily mash your way through the entire game, especially once you've gotten your stats up. Even the bosses don't require any hardcore pattern recognition, and I think that's part of the reason why it's so fun. Not every game has to be a complete test of your skill or determination. Sometimes it's fun to just mindlessly beat up hundreds of mobs. There are 4 completely unique characters, with 3 that are essentially palette swaps, and even though they functionally all have the same moveset, the animations are tailored enough for them to all feel unique. The only thing that I really feel is missing from the combat is a tech or quick rise option for when you get knocked down. You do unlock an aerial recovery, one level away from the max, but if your character hits the ground, you basically just have to watch them lay there.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
You probably only spend about a second on the ground, but it really does interrupt the flow of combat. To that note, I do want to mention that the game isn't really balanced at all. Most of the enemies don't have any telegraphs for their attacks, and some of them are able to spam their moves as much as their little AI hearts desire. For example, the cameraman in Lucas's level can stun lock you into eternity if they get even one flash in.
I can do this all day.
Get it? Cause like,
That's actually hilarious.
But this can also work in your favor. If you're in co-op mode, you can pretty easily juggle almost every enemy, including some of the bosses, to death without ever giving them a chance to fight back. Speaking of co-op, if you can manage to get into an online lobby, gameplay gets even crazier. Enemy spawns will scale off the number of players, so there's always enough fodder to go around, and some of the enemy counts can get pretty wild if you're in a full lobby. Unfortunately, the online is a little janky right now. I know there's a ton of people playing this game, but it's still kind of a hassle to find a lobby, and I think the lack of any form of online menu is to blame. As it is now, you just click join a match and you get put into a random lobby. You also can't start a game until the lobby is full, so if it doesn't fill up quickly, a lot of people just peace out and start looking for another lobby to join. Characters having levels and stats also causes minor issues, but something like the menu in Monster Hunter, where you can see how many people are in a given lobby, the level of the leader, and what stage they're queuing up for would solve a majority of this game's online issues. Once you finally make it into a good lobby, the game runs buttery smooth though. I played with these guys for about an hour and a half, and there wasn't a single instance of lag. There's also local co-op, but seeing as how we're firmly in the middle of a pandemic, having some buddies come over for some couch co-op isn't a real option right now. As fun and chaotic as gameplay is, I think the main attractions for this game are the visuals and soundtrack. Everything is illustrated through stellar pixel art graphics that even a decade after its release still look amazing. You've seen how good the character animations are, but Scott Pilgrim also boasts some of the most intricate level design in the genre. On your way to defeat Gideon, you'll fight your way through a slew of contrasting areas, including a movie set, Japanese garden, and even a factory full of robots. All of the levels feel so energetic thanks to seemingly small inclusions like snow falling in the streets of Toronto and seeing people dance through the windows of a house party. Throughout the stages, there are hidden shortcuts, secret shops, and background cameos for the superfans to be discovered. Look at Wallace and Jimmy making out right next to a pissed off Stacy.
Wallace, again?
Everything is brought together by a Super Mario style world map, which makes the levels feel even more connected than if we were just choosing them from a menu. The world map is also really convenient from a gameplay perspective because most of the levels have multiple sections, and generally each section has its own blip on the map. So if you want to go to a specific part of a level, say to buy something from a shop, you usually won't have to get there from the start of it. And oh my god, the music, it's so good, dude. Everything from the relaxing shop music to the boss intro jingle is so thoughtfully crafted to accompany the top-notch level design. Even after not playing the game for 7 years, I was still able to hum along to almost all of the songs during my first playthrough on the re-release. I seriously think the soundtrack alone is worth a $15 price tag. As for what's missing, it is essentially a straight up port of the old game. I would have loved it if they Nintendo'd it and gave us some new characters or a new map or something with the re-release. According to Brian Lee O'Malley, the creator of Scott Pilgrim, back in the day there were plans to do a DLC that included all 3 members of the Clash at Demon Head as playable characters. This would have been a great time to make something like that happen, but I say why stop there? How amazing would it have been if we got to play as all 7 of the evil exes? That's probably asking for a bit much, but I can't help but feel like the porting job is a little lazy, especially when it retails for what I believe is the same price it was when it first came out. I'm pretty sure they won't be adding or changing anything else, but I also didn't think the game was ever going to come back, so who really knows what the future holds. So the big question, does Scott Pilgrim still hold up after all these years? I think it does. While it's no longer the best-in-class beat-em-up experience that it was back in 2010, it's still a really solid game. If you're someone who loves beat-em-ups or Scott Pilgrim and you're okay with the minor problems that I talked about, you'll definitely get your $15 worth out of this game. As is the case with most beat-em-ups, the majority of your playtime is going to come from replaying the same levels over and over again, so if you're someone that's only going to play through the game once or twice, you might wait for a sale. I probably wouldn't wait too long if I were you though. We all know how that ended up last time. Hey, it's me, here to do the end of the video preamble. Post-amble? Thanks for making it to the end. If you made it this far, I'm gonna assume that you liked the video, so if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like button for me. If you extra like the video, you can subscribe to the channel for more like this in the future. Thanks for sticking around until the very end. I'll see you in the next one.